Colin. He would never do such sneaky things. But all explanations became meaningless in the face of betrayal. He had to make a phone call, not long after Colin was tied up by the horse's henchmen. At this time Zinzo was impatient and immediately wanted to execute the traitor on the spot, but he was stopped by the horse in time. However, this time even more surprisingly, the horse invited everyone out, leaving only 4 people here to confront. Immediately after he used a knife to slit the throat of the unlucky assassin, then forced Colin to tell the truth. Seeing this, Gray quickly accused Colin of not pulling him into this quagmire, then pretended to be angry and wanted to kill the friend betrayer with his own hands. Then he took the knife from the horse's hand. When he was about to act, he suddenly pointed the knife at him. But just at this time Gray's phone rang. It turned out that his wife and daughter had escaped. Because just now when his daughter went to the bathroom, she locked the door. This attracted the attention of a guard. Rose suddenly used an iron rod to hit the back of his head. When the remaining guard discovered the body of his companion, Gray's daughter heard 2 gunshots. So Gray knew his wife and children were safe and told the truth. Because he had served 2 years in prison for Anton, so after being released from prison, he cut off relations and illegal activities with him. Moreover, the horse owed him a life, so now he wanted to use his life and Colin's to repay this debt. After hearing these words, the horse could only nod lightly, so Gray and Colin were temporarily allowed to live. As soon as he got home, he discovered a dead body lying in a pool of blood. Looking into the bedroom, he saw his wife and children hugging each other, trembling. Although his family seemed safe, but how would they escape Anton's revenge? That night, while attending the party, Anton suddenly discovered the horse coming to find him with a cane. The meeting of the two also revealed the truth of the story. It turned out that the horse's group was a gang specializing in organizing illegal African border crossings. Anton was a middleman who made money by charging exorbitant passport fees. Now that labor costs were increasing, the horse wanted to directly contact the source to eliminate Anton. He sent Colin to the lawyer to steal the passports, thereby pulling Gray, who needed money, into the gang's chain of interests. The feud between the two sides pushed Gray into the eye of the storm. Unexpectedly, there was a bribe taker in the police. The person who provided the tracking device to Anton was the police officer who handled the case of Gray's son being shot to death years ago. Now the truth about his son's death was about to be revealed. His wife killed someone in self-defense at home, but Gray prevented reporting to the police. Because the person killed was Anton's gang henchman, with the opponent's influence in both worlds, they would either go to jail or face revenge. After careful consideration, Rose put the dialed phone down. Very quickly he found Colin. The two of them skillfully wrapped the body in plastic again, then carried it into Colin's car. The rest would be handled by him at the designated disposal site. Then the two brothers parted ways. Gray thought he could leave this time. Unexpectedly, the African gang threw him an envelope. But because he was in a hurry to escape, he had to temporarily put it in his pocket. Then he returned to this house full of beautiful memories for many years. Everywhere he went, he saw the image of his lost son. Finally, he inserted the paper cup into the superchlorine particles in the pool, then poured a mysterious liquid in and compared the time with the clock. He was satisfied to leave. Just a small device like this would erase all traces of murder here. Sure enough, at night the superchlorine particles and the liquid reacted, causing a fire. The whole house was instantly engulfed in flames. At this time, Gray's family was in a motel dozens of miles away. Then Gray confessed to his daughter about his dark past when he had to go to jail. Rose also did not hide and took out a gun that she accidentally found in the bedroom. This gun helped her kill 2 gang henchmen. Gray was very worried when he heard this. His daughter was immediately agitated when she heard this. She blamed her parents for her brother's death. It turned out that night, Gray discovered a group of thugs coming to the door. Not long after, he saw his son hurriedly wanting to go out. Clearly he wanted to go out and cause trouble. He strictly stopped him, but unexpectedly was cursed by his rebellious son. Angrily, he suddenly punched him, but as soon as he punched, he regretted it. However, his son was extremely disappointed and walked out of the house. Unexpectedly, something happened that night. When he arrived at the scene of the crime, he only saw his son lying in a pool of blood, so Gray always regretted this. Now that his son had been dead for a year, the police still had no clues. However, what he found in the envelope later completely broke him down. It turned out that the horse's henchman had sent a recording. It sounded like it was the person who killed his son that night. How could Gray forgive his mistake? So he hurriedly drove to the horse's place. The reason the horse did this was because he had encountered a difficult problem that could not be solved. He was a human trafficker organizing border crossings who wanted to eliminate Anton, the middleman who made money by charging exorbitant passport fees but was chased by him. He planned to risk his life to fight, but the phone call later pushed him into the abyss. It turned out that the father in distant Africa not only remotely controlled the restoration of cooperation between the two sides, but also removed the horse from his position. He handed over all the work to Zinzo. Anton had invited the upcoming Attorney General of the state, forcing the Congress to legalize seasonal labor, making his business legal. The horse's illegal activities would be forced out of the market. At this time, Zinzo took over as boss and completely changed the horse's way of doing things. Chamorro could only follow his father's orders to assist in management. That night, a new group of workers arrived. Although on the outside it was a happy and harmonious black family, but Zinzo secretly did not fulfill his contractual responsibilities. The living environment he provided was extremely dirty and shabby, even sent new black girls to luxury hotels to work as prostitutes. So the horse's business had just declined and had become corrupt. However, he did not follow his father's order to return home, but with the support of his younger sister used a recording to arrange a meeting with Gray. His counterattack started from here. So Gray was caught in this vortex, because the horse promised to tell the perpetrator who killed his son. Gray wore down the car's frame number, then erased all traces that could be traced to his identity, then took advantage of the darkness to sneak to the junkyard to wait for a black market transaction to end. He wanted to kill the boss Anton inside. Taking advantage of the other party still talking on the phone, he quickly rushed forward and rammed into their car. Feeling still not satisfied, he immediately reversed and rammed directly again. At this time, Anton's crushed Mercedes car was on fire, as if the person inside was still dying. Then Gray staggered out of the car. Gray also wanted to let Anton die clearly, because the other party deliberately hid the truth about his son's murder, robbing him of the opportunity to seek justice. Saw the big flames erupting from the engine. Ignoring the other party's pleading screams, he turned around and left. In an instant, behind him turned into a sea of fire. The hatred that had tormented him for a year was finally relieved. But Anton's death had another reason, because last night he was very angry that the horse kept the recording without telling him. But unexpectedly, he had only just got this a few days ago. Because in the package that Gray and Colin stole, there were not only labor passports, but also a recording of a phone call that Anton had hidden. Clearly, this was the trump card that the other party used to threaten someone later. It was just that Gray adhered to professional ethics, so he did not discover it. But now to find out the killer, Gray had to help the horse do some big things as a return. For revenge, he had to agree to this deal. Immediately after, he went to the church to repent for his decision, although his younger sister and advised him not to act rashly. But no matter how God and outsiders saw it, he had to seek justice for his son's tragic death. Then he let Colin listen to the recording of the phone call. Unexpectedly, Colin advised him to report to the police and not take action himself. However, Gray's attitude was very determined and asked him to help him make a phone call no matter what. So Gray found an old acquaintance named Hector in the antique shop, but the other party advised him not to return to his previous life, because that would attract the attention of someone he shouldn't mess with. Clearly, Gray's action of finding someone showed that he would return to his old ways. This would definitely cause dissatisfaction from another gang boss in Chicago. He thought for a moment, but still decided to avenge his son's death first. Very quickly, he arrived in front of a house. He saw a tall blonde man come into his sights. He immediately confirmed the identification information that his old acquaintance gave him. Unexpectedly, the person who killed his son had a minor black child. At this time, Gray began to hesitate, but he still followed the blonde man's car to an old building. Then he took the gun and went in. Unexpectedly, this was a meeting for Alcoholics Anonymous. Even more unexpectedly, the group leader considered him a newcomer and invited him to sit in the group to share. Seeing the killer laughing and talking next to him, Gray emotionally recounted the painful story of losing his son. The blonde man was a little uncomfortable and went out to smoke a cigarette. Gray also went out, pulled the gun out from behind, and forced the blonde man into the car, then took him to his closed repair shop. Then Gray presented the recording of the phone call to confront him. The blonde man was completely stunned and told the whole story. It turned out that at that time he was drunk and also used drugs. Just as he reached the intersection, he saw someone prying open his car window. Angrily, he pulled out his gun. Only when he approached did he discover that it was a minor child. He hurriedly picked up the bullet casings and panicked and drove away from the scene. He did not dare to call an ambulance, but called his ex-wife because she was the district attorney. However, the other party gave Gray a phone number. Gray understood that this person was his old enemy Anton. But now the blonde man was also being tormented by his conscience. He shed tears and swore to go to the police station to surrender. Because he was also a father with a wife and children at home, clearly Anton was the one who had to take responsibility for Gray's son's death. Previously, Anton was using money to support Laura's Attorney General campaign because the other party called for a strong crackdown on illegal labor. In this way, he would legally completely control the horse, the African gang leader who was causing trouble. At the same time, the African gang specializing in black labor was also secretly fighting. The older brother, the horse, was transferred, while the younger brother, Zinzo, took power. But Shamaro always disagreed with Zinzo's way of doing things. She followed her father's instructions to recover all the passports that Gray had stolen and returned them to Vanton. Only then did she pick up the phone and report the whole incident to the horse. Although Zinzo had taken over as boss, he still kept the horse's son hostage. But at this time he was not easy to live, because just now a black girl who was forced to provide pleasure services suddenly escaped. To prevent his father from knowing about his mistake, he angrily ordered his henchmen to immediately go find her. That night, Shamaro attended casino owner Vernon's wine party. She said she could provide the other party with labor at a more preferential price and a higher discount. However, the casino had a previous agreement with Anton, so the owner was not very interested in Shamiro's proposal. But just at this time, Vernon did not see Anton come, but the horse. Vernon did not want to sit down and talk, but unexpectedly Shamaro sent a secretly recorded video. It turned out that it was his indecent photo with the black girl who had escaped. To preserve his reputation, he had to sign an agreement with the horse. Clearly the horse's counterattack plan was successful, and he did not forget to deal with his always rebellious younger brother. Then he called Gray. At this time Gray was holding a gun and repeating the horse's murder order to Zinzo. When the horse and Shamaro returned to the office, Gray was already waiting there. He did not kill Zinzo because he did not want to participate in the gang's internal struggle. He was tired of these debt repayment transactions. This time, he decisively threw the gun on the table to let the three brothers close the door and settle it themselves. However, he had not yet stepped out the door when he heard a gunshot from upstairs. At the same time, the black girl who escaped from the den resolutely chose to report to the police. But what would her fate be when facing a corrupt police station? On the other side, the blonde man kept his promise and actively went to the police station to surrender. The story also ends here. The value of a movie lies in its reputation, and the value of a movie review lies in its feelings. Today's story ends here. Thank you for watching the movie. How do you guys find this movie? Please comment below.